corset by Versatile Corsets, which you can also find on Corset Connection. So here is the front, side, back, and the other side. The center front of this corset is about 16 inches and it scoops up just a little bit so that the full length above the bust is about 17 inches. So I find this to be an appropriate length for my torso. You can see for the fit of this, the silhouette, on me it fits more like a modern slim silhouette. It's kind of a modern twist on an Elizabethan silhouette, I would think. Except when you see this same exact corset on another model on the Versatile website, you can see that it very much gives her almost a wasp waist with a conical rib cage. So depending on how full busted and full hipped you are, it can give you a slight variation in your silhouette. For the bust, I feel very covered, I feel very safe. Of course, I'm going to be doing the bust test a little bit later on, but I would say that this corset might be able to fit maybe E or even F cups, I would say. It has a lot of room in here, but it still has a bit of a demure neckline. You can see that it comes into straps that are always off the shoulder here. They're not exactly adjustable, so you can pull them up or down, but a little bit so. You can also adjust the little ties here on the shoulder if you feel that you need a little bit more room for your arms and your shoulders. Of course, you're probably not going to be able to like play basketball in it, but it'll give you the mobility that you need. You can also see that the hip ties here give a lot of potential room in the hips here. So even if your natural hip spring is wider than this corset itself when it's fully closed, you're able to get another 6 inches or maybe even 8 inches more space here. You can see that the model on the Versatile website is very, very full hipped, and this corset fits her beautifully. And onto the back, you can see that this corset has a rather high neckline in the back. So if you have a little bit less mobility of your arms and your shoulders, you might need a little bit of help lacing up, but I haven't had a problem lacing up this corset by myself. So here's a Valerian corset laying flat, and for the material of this, I feel that it is, I mean, technically 2 layers, but if you count this tulle layer over top, it's actually 3. The lining is a black herringbone couture, and the fashion fabric underneath this tulle here is actually a satin that feels like it has been reinforced, interfaced or something. It's this beautiful silvery gray satin that has almost a bluish cast to it. And then of course there is this net or this tulle over top of it. This tulle is actually an add-on. If you want any sort of overlay, it is another $40, but if you just want some sort of plain satin or brocade, then it'll probably cost less. Construction of this, you can see that the patterning is quite unique here. It has a 5-panel pattern technically, so you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can see how this side seam, it starts at about the armpit, but then it actually angles itself forward, and these 2 panels here are on the diagonal. I find that it actually lends itself very well to larger busts, and with the panels 3 and 4 here, it actually does shape around the hips quite well. That might not have looked very evident on me because this is a size 26. It's a couple of sizes larger than I usually take. This is just a sample. But when you see the original model wearing this, you can see that she fills out the hips really nicely. And for the actual assembly of this, if I turn it to the inside so you can see the stitch work here, it seems that the couture was flat lined to the fashion fabric, and all the panels were assembled with a top stitch. So they're double or possibly even triple stitched here. And then external boning channels were laid down on top of that. And as long as the external boning channels have been reinforced on the back side of it, then the bones shouldn't rub through the front of this satin boning channels, and it shouldn't rub through the back either because the couture is a fairly tight weave. The one seam that is an exception is actually this side seam here where it goes into the hip ties. This one is actually lock stitched so that it would give a more clean effect when it transitions into these hip ties here. This corset has an exposed waist tape on the inside. You can see that it runs right from the busk of the first panel right to the very back of that last panel through the entire width here. Now with my Mimosa Overbust corset, my waist tape was actually sandwiched between the layers. This one is exposed on the inside. One reason for that, I'm speculating, is that this has external boning channels. So the bones didn't have to be sandwiched between several layers, and so the waist tape, if it were put on top of the couture but underneath the satin, it might have looked more exposed. It might have actually made a ridge on the outside of the corset, which would not be aesthetically pleasing. So that might be one reason that this waist tape is exposed in this particular corset, but not in another corset that has sandwich boning channels. Here's a close-up of the binding. It is in matching black satin. It matches the boning channels, and it is machine stitched on the outside and also on the inside here. And you can see that this particular corset also comes with garter tabs. There are, I believe, 8 of them, 4 on each side. This corset, the busk, does not go right up to the top here. It is actually, I believe it's 13 inches long, and it has 6 pins. The pins are equidistant to one another. The rest of the length up here is made up by a couple of grommets here so that you can lace some ribbon and adjust how tight or loose you want the bust to be. This busk is a standard width busk, 1/2 inch wide. It is fairly flexible, but it is also supported by another 1/4 inch or maybe even 3/8 inch wide flat steel bone beside it. This corset has a Modesty panel in the back. It is a little bit over 6 inches wide here, and it's non-stiffened and attached with a line of stiffing to one side of the corset here. If you don't like Modesty panels, then this can be easily removed. And I appreciate the fact that they went to the extra effort to match the Modesty panel with the rest of the corset, even putting the lace overlay on top of it. In addition to that, there is an unstiffened Modesty placket underneath the busk here in a matching black satin as well. There are 21 bones in this corset, 11 on each side. You can see here that it's double boned on each seam here, so you can see 2, 4, 6, 8. Those are all 1/4 inch wide spiral steel bones. Also, there is a flat steel bone next to the busk and 2 flat steel bones sandwiching the grommets on each side. Here's a close-up of the grommets. There are a total of 34 2-part size 00 grommets in this corset. They're set equidistantly apart, about 1 inch away from each other. Very good quality. I have not had a problem with these grommets, and they are quickly becoming one of my favorite types of grommets actually. And here's a close-up of the back of the grommets. You can see that they've all rolled really beautifully. None of them look crushed or anything. I haven't seen that they catch on the laces or anything like that. You can see a couple of little fuzzies there. That's just indicative of the fabric being pushed aside when the hole was made. But it's not coming out, it's not popping or coming loose at all. I haven't had a problem with these. Laces at the back of this corset, I believe, are just round nylon or poly laces here. They're fairly slippery. They glide through the grommets really well. If you do not know how to tie a proper bow, you might find that it slips out, but if you know how to tie proper knots and bows, then you shouldn't have a problem with these. They are very, very thin. They're only about 1/8 of an inch wide, so I find that it doesn't have a lot of friction within the grommets if that's something that you like. Now with the other grommets here on the hip, these are actually black ribbon, and I like these ones. They are double-faced satin ribbon as well as the ribbon in the center front here, but of course you can switch these out to whatever you like. There's also some grommets and laces here at the shoulders, so if you have even broader shoulders than I do, then you can always expand these and just fill the gap with ribbon.
And now for the bust test.
corset gets a 4 out of 4 on the bust test. When I was jumping, shrugging, raising my arms, and bending over, I didn't feel that I was going to spill out. And I actually felt even more secure by having this sort of demure neckline here. The price for the Valerian Overbust corset on Versatile Corsets and Corset Connection starts at about $438. So this concludes my review of the Valerian Overbust corset, and if you liked it, then please be sure to click that like button and help support the channel. If you have any questions about the Valerian corset or about Versatile Corsets or Corset Connection in general, please feel free to leave a comment down below and I'd be happy to get back to you, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!